Here. There we go. 3, 2, and 1. Well, Mary Katie, welcome back. Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. Fresh off an election, fresh off a whole lot of other stuff. I mean, it's been a busy week. Both of us, we barely had time to make this work, which is again why we're over Zoom. But here we are.
Yes, here we are. Happy Monday.
Yes, indeed. Happy Monday, indeed. And happy PFAS Day once again, which I guess has been every day.
Is that what we're calling it?
Every day since mid-January. We've got water filter pitchers in the hands of a lot of citizens. So we've got a lot of more bottled water in the hands of a lot of citizens. And the Waterworks Commission, of which, of course, you are the chair, you are about to have a wealth of knowledge regarding PFAS from consultants. At least that's what you're aiming towards here in the next day or two.
Yeah. So how do I, let me just start out then. Okay. You mentioned filters, you mentioned bottled water. So we're still handing that out to folks, people who registered for a pitcher. You will hear from us when your pitcher is ready for you. We're doing this in phases because we got a lot of requests. You know, we got thousands of requests. So we want to make sure that we don't have a big crush there and that we have pitchers available for everyone. As you know, it's been kind of fun supply chain wise and just making sure we get everything shipped. So we're expecting another shipment. We're recording this not on Monday, but I'm led to understand that we're getting another shipment on Monday. So excited about that. And we've had a lot of folks show up and get their pitchers. So that's happening. And yeah, we just had a special Waterworks Commission meeting where we talked about the request for qualifications that we put out there because we want people with PFAS expertise helping guide the stuff we're going to have to do to our new drinking water treatment facility. So we heard from a bunch of different consultants and organizations that specialize in this. And I think we got a lot to work with. What we're doing right now is developing criteria on which we will judge these proposals, and we got some good stuff. So, things I heard about was experience. We have some folks with lots of experience in Wisconsin, maybe a plus because our water chemistry is special. Never thought I'd be talking about chemistry, right?
Right.
So there's that. We heard about cost effectiveness, which is really important to me and to our ratepayers and taxpayers. So we'll have a lot to talk about. I'm anticipating on the schedule here soon. I wish I had the date for you, but as of right now, we don't have that special meeting scheduled just yet. It should be coming up in the next 2 weeks, though.
Yeah, indeed. And I know one of the things that I noticed in looking through the proposals last week was that you did have all Wisconsin companies. In fact, you had one from Schofield and one from Stevens Point. So you had a couple of good local companies that do have knowledge about this. So I'm guessing that's something that's very important because, as you mentioned, our water is not going to be like the water in California or maybe even the Twin Cities.
Right. Yeah. So we are very lucky and privileged to have the aquifers that we have, and the Wisconsin River recharges our wells. But that provides its own challenges, right, when it comes to manganese and iron and various things like that. So we got to make sure the solutions we're doing aren't exacerbating a problem. I think probably the big one that we've been talking about is the anti-corrosion treatment that we do to make sure we're not disturbing lead. And that's something we definitely don't want to mess up when we're finding a solution for PFAS. So we've had some good suggestions, and we look forward to partnering with one of these fine consultants coming up here.
And I know another thing that's probably going to be talked about is, again, their timeline and their availability, because obviously you've made it clear, and Eric Lindman has made it clear, you want this to be gone by August when the new drinking water treatment plant comes on.
No pressure. Pressure.
Right. But that is,
you got 6 months though. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a few months here, but that is my next question. Like, is this going to be possible that this gets into a point where you're maybe running up against a deadline and you maybe have to put off hooking up the new drinking water treatment plant because you are still trying to finalize it and tweak that process for filtering?
Right. So we're going to do everything we can to get it done. We have certain kinds of contracts and things with the DNR, with the EPA, that we say we're going to follow through on these. So we have a reason to meet our deadlines because of some of those project proposals and things that we've already, filed. So we have a reason to get this done quickly. And everybody that responded understood the pressures we're under. So it's been good. And, we're seeing some good results from our bench testing. So it's promising. I'm really excited. And I think we have some good solutions.
So then, again, because you never thought as Mary you would have to become a drinking water expert. So you mentioned
Yeah.
bench testing there
Yeah.
and promising results. I think that's going to make a lot of people's ears perk up. So tell us just exactly what that means.
Yeah, so I don't have the exact scientific
Sure.
background here to talk about this. So I'm going to be talking about it in layman's terms, which I think is okay.
Mhm.
But we've been working on testing several different kinds of resins, of carbon activated, granular activated carbon, powder activated carbon. So we've been doing these different kinds of things, and some of the resins have been pretty promising. Some of the other things that we're seeing with the powder activated carbon is interesting, as it relates to how it interacts with our or doesn't interact with our anti-corrosion treatment. So we have a shorter term goal of trying to make sure that our current facility is able to filter the stuff out, and then obviously the long-term solution with this new facility. So I think we're getting to a point where we might be ready to talk about some of these results. I won't be the one talking about it, but I am going to very enthusiastically be there listening and asking questions. So I'm excited about where we're going and that we're seeing some results. So
I
again,
think,
I wish that I could tell you everything about it, but there's a lot of science that goes into it. And obviously we want to replicate it and make sure that it's doing what we said it's doing. And not just replication, but on that large scale, it needs to work too. So that's what we're focused on right now.
yeah, absolutely. And I think you and there's going to be a lot of other people that will be there actively listening and excited and hoping that this does indeed, become something that is a past item in Wausau and
Yeah.
not something that is an ongoing thing. One thing
Right.
that is your area of expertise, though,
Mm.
uh, elections. Of course, we
Oh,
just had one.
it is my
We just
expertise, apparently. I've ran in a couple, I suppose. So
You've ran in a couple, you've overseen them. Everybody knows how enthusiastic you are about elections and
I
voting.
do love democracy.
Just give us kind of your recap of how things went last week, because obviously we had a couple of hiccups in the process, but it seems that procedures were followed and we have ourselves what right now appears to be a safe and secure election for last
Yeah.
week.
So I think probably the challenging part is kind of as we're getting up to the election, we had a lot of changes in election law based on legislative maneuverings and also court decisions, right? So, for the primary, we could use the drop box. For the general, we could not. So making sure that we communicated that clearly, we had messaging, all of that. So that's a challenge, having those rules change. And it's complicated for the public too. We had people who were saying, "Oh my gosh, you mean I'm not allowed to drop off my husband's ballot?" Things like that. So kind of making sure that everyone is aware of this process is really important. So we worked on that. We had a couple of people who were upset or confused, but we worked through that as far as I know. The clerk is very exhausted, but still enthusiastic about it. I know that we worked, our city clerk worked very closely with the county clerk, who kind of oversees the elections in the county. And as it turns out, prints our ballots. So, they worked on estimating the ballots and we had larger turnout than they both anticipated. So there was a little bit of, maneuvering there to make sure we got everyone who wanted to vote a ballot and, using our new ADA kind of machine, which is great, but we don't have enough of them for, the volume that we had voting at Pilgrim. So that was a little bit of a challenge. But overall, I've heard that most people were patient with us. So thank you to the public for voting. And also, we obviously saw some big changes in our area as it
Mhm.
relates to the elected bodies. So looking forward to working with our new council members. I made my first contacts with them today, asking them what kind of committees they'd like to serve on. So
Right.
that's fun. And obviously, we have several old hands here on the city council too, and they're looking forward to assuming their leadership positions again.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that we do have to watch, though, is who's going to be representing District 1 because
Oh
we do have a
man.
race that was separated by 2 votes. Again, if you think that your vote doesn't matter, we have a race in
And
the
there were
city.
3 write-ins in that race. Can you
Yes.
imagine? Whoa.
3 write-ins in that race. We don't know if Mickey Mouse was one of them. Maybe
I
you
should
could
ask.
confirm or deny that. Maybe Giannis got a vote too. Who knows? But we also had a county race that is separated by fewer than 5 votes as well. So
Oof,
again, if you don't think that your vote
it
matters, it
matters.
does.
Oh yeah.
It does every time.
We
So
don't have
that's
an
why you,
electoral college on the local level, so like make sure you
yes,
get to the polls.
yes, it votes. It matters every time. So vote every time. That's my soapbox for the day. But
Thank you.
the process that you may have to go through on this, we won't know until maybe the middle of this week if there is going to be a recount. But is that
Right.
something that you're
I
preparing
have
for at City
heard
Hall?
that there's interest in a recount. And, frankly, when I think about like if that were me, I would for sure want a recount. So, that's just the way this is. And it's typical and they'll do it. And, we have all of the processes in place to make sure that we do that correctly too.
So now, in the event that this ends in a tie, are we going to have a coin flip? Are we going
Ooh.
to have a roll of the dice? Or
You
are we going
know,
to draw straws?
Yeah, so I remember at the county level when they had a tie of 2 write-in candidates because nobody was running, they drew cards. So I think it's up to the clerk's office as long
Okay.
as they deem it fair. Yeah, I will be relying on Clerk Caitlin to decide how we want to do this.
Just as long as it's maybe we'll say like a 1968 quarter.
Ooh,
That going to be have to be the official thing. We won't get that specific, but we can dream about it.
I don't think
That
there's a statute related to that, so
in well, I can tell you in Platte, South Dakota, it is a roll of the dice.
Ooh,
So the 2 candidates have to come in and they each have to roll the same set of 2 dice, and the high total ends
oh,
up winning. But
all right, you get a Yahtzee.
over here, I don't know. I haven't experienced it yet
Yeah.
in 4.5 years. One more thing before we let you go. Late last week, actually, you had the final meeting of the policing task force. I know you have a couple of changes or improvements, whatever it is you'd like to call them, that you'd actually like to implement off this right away. And
Oh
this
yeah.
isn't something that is going to go in automatically because the task force says so. You have a method and a chain of command that's going to go with this. So kind of
Right.
explain that to us.
Right. So we do have lots of really good suggestions in here. And, a lot of it, we went into this looking into systemic racism, use of force, things like that. And as we studied it, we found that there is no evidence of systemic racism. There's no evidence that use of force is improperly deployed. So, the task force then we listened very closely to all of the things that the police department is involved in. And, some of the questions surrounding mental health and social services in our community, oftentimes the police are called first, right? So if you see somebody yelling on a corner and you're kind of alarmed, you probably call 911 and the police respond. And maybe that person is in mental crisis. So what is the best way to respond to these folks? And so one of the things, we had that pilot project where we had Officer Lemerand basically acting as a liaison between our homeless population and our resources in the county. We partnered with North Central Healthcare and our CART team. So we found that his continuous and regular check-ins with folks was making a difference. It was helping people if they wanted to hook up with their Social Security, if they somehow lost their benefits, we were able to connect with them. But we had to keep on them, right? If they were interested in maybe addressing some mental health or addiction issues, we had a house that they could move into. And then we regularly checked in on them, making sure they were making up their appointments and all that. And so it was very effective and it worked very well. But obviously that meant taking somebody off patrol and asking them to do this for an entire year. And while we find those benefits were very useful, we want to make sure that we're using our police force in the right way. So one of those suggestions is to hire a social worker to kind of be that conduit. So that will be coming up. I don't think it will be voted on this month, but next month we'll probably be talking about that at HR, which I'm very excited about. And I know that we'll be able to come up with more solutions as we continue through here. We had some that we put in there, some suggestions and recommendations that the state actually took care of for us during our process. So Act 82 kind of addresses the when an officer is let go in lieu of termination. That's now something that's recorded regularly, and people will be able to look into that and see what was the situation that led to that. So we have some stuff that solved itself, and we don't have to recommend, but we feel proud of the work we did.
Yeah, indeed, because I'm sure that there were people that were kind of checking in with this from outside the area saying, what are you finding? Is there something that we can be implementing in our area? Not just
Yeah.
maybe with your neighboring communities here, but probably elsewhere across the state as well.
Yep, totally. And, we had a really great session with Jim Palmer, who's the executive director of the Wisconsin Professional Police Association. He's actually from Wausau, but he has this job in Madison, and he was graciously, he showed up to kind of tell us all about these things. And one of the things that really kind of hit me was at the time when he was presenting, officers couldn't use there was a certain kind of leave you couldn't use for PTSD related to on-the-job stuff. Well, the legislature took care of it. It was bipartisan. Again, like, these are kind of common sense things. And I think we were able to have those good discussions and advocate. I was able to talk to our representatives in Madison, and it got done. So awesome.
Yeah, indeed. So this is going to go through a process, right? You're going to have a couple of public chances for public input on
Sure.
this. So this isn't something that is going to go in without
Oh,
further
yeah.
examination.
Yeah, so we will be going to public health and safety meeting, where we'll give a report, our recommendations, and we'll talk about it. I don't expect them to take action yet, but we want to get some feedback from public health and safety, because they have oversight over some of the policies related to the police department. And then we will also go to the full council. We'll get some input there from those folks, and make sure that we are all aligned. And then after that, we will have a public hearing, because that was one of the things in the authorizing resolution that we said we would do. So we'll have that public hearing, make sure that we have done everything that the public has expected of us. And then we'll just divvy it up and give it on to the committees that will be deciding on this, whether that's HR, finance, public health and safety, all of that.
Mhm.
So, they'll just be able to take bites of that, or if they decide they don't like a recommendation, I guess that's their call. So.
Yep, indeed. Well, we always appreciate the time, Mary Katie. We will certainly be chatting again in the near future, I'm sure.
Yes, I'm sure too. Have a great day.
All right, you too.